Louis Martin, the senior advisor. To my left is my executive assistant, Keisha Humphrey. And we have some guests with us who I will introduce at a later time. In fact, I'll introduce them now because we can't do the minutes, so I might as well start. So we have 3 guests. I have to put my glasses on so I can say your name. From Brooklyn Family Court. They'll do a presentation. Are any of you unfamiliar with Brooklyn Family Court? Okay, so that's a good thing. So they'll be able to enlighten you. They deal with youth who are faced with criminal charges from the ages of 7 through 16. And they work within our community in Brooklyn, and they're here to tell you how they work in a protected community. Is that appropriate? Okay, good. So representing the family court tonight are Charles J. Rott. So stand up, please. Come to the podium. Ashley Bayless. Did I say your name properly? Bayless, please come. Yes. Or wherever you want, and I can give you a mic. And we have Alina Slabokina. Did I say that properly? Okay, so we have those 3 representatives, and I believe that Mr. Charles will make a presentation and his colleagues will join him. And hopefully before the end of the presentation, we'll have quorum. So take it away.
Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, come
So-
out. We can't see you, though. Okay. Yeah.
Better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you for the introduction. I really want to thank you guys as well as the borough president for having us here tonight. The main really reasoning behind us coming here, I wanted to reach out. I wanted to have an opportunity to speak to some members of the community, really in an effort to try to foster a relationship between my office and the working communities that you guys all serve. So it's really an opportunity for us to hopefully get to know your names. You guys will know our names, and have an open line of communication for when there's an issue with young people in your specific areas, that you have a person that you can reach out to, that I can attempt to not only listen to the issues that your community members are telling you, but also attempt to address those issues. So one of the things that we're going to do tonight, and really my main goal, is to talk to you a little bit about what we do in Brooklyn Family Court. So again, I'm Charles Rott. I'm the acting borough chief in Brooklyn Family Court. I have 2 of my colleagues here tonight. To my immediate right is Ashley Bayless. She's one of the attorneys in our office. And then on the end is Alina Slabokina. She's also an attorney in our office. So if anybody has any questions, please, you can raise your hand, scream them out. You can do whatever you choose. I don't mind being interrupted at all. I'm going to need to switch through some slides as we get there. I also left some of my business cards up front. It has my office phone number on there. Please feel free to take one. And like I said, if you have any questions or concerns, we will make every effort to try to address those when you reach out to us. Great, thank you. So, we work right across the street. Our offices are at 350 J Street, in the same office building as the district attorney's office. We practice in family court in Brooklyn, which is located right down the street at 330 J Street. If you don't know about our office citywide has approximately 88 attorneys. We have 66 support staff members, and we have offices in all the 5 boroughs. We have a central office location, which is at 100 Church Street. We work for the New York City Law Department. We're one of the divisions within the New York City Law Department. What we primarily do in our practice is twofold. Our main practice is with juvenile delinquency. What we do is our office is tasked with investigating, preparing, presenting cases against young people who have been arrested from their 7th birthday up through their 15th birthday. So when you hit your 16th birthday, currently, that case is handled by the district attorney's office. I'm sure you've heard and you're familiar with the Raise the Age legislation.
Yes.
That has passed. Our office supported that legislation. We're a little nervous because of the volume that's going to come to us, but we're excited. We're making efforts to expand our operation and to serve those 16-year-olds come this October, and then to serve those 17-year-olds come October of 2019. So just for a couple numbers, in 2017, there was approximately 4,469 arrests citywide of juveniles, again, 7 to 15 years old. Of those cases, 3,015 were referred to our office to investigate and potentially file cases. The second part of the practice that I was talking about, we also do an interstate child support enforcement. I'm not going to really speak about child support tonight. That's not the primary concern of our practice. But it is an offset of our office where we do assist out-of-state members in enforcing child support orders. 2017, approximately 4,000 cases in that area. So in the juvenile delinquency unit, we have, division, we have some specialized units. One of those units is called the major case unit. Exactly what it sounds like. It's a group of lawyers that are in our office, specially trained. They've been in our office for a good amount of time. And those individuals are tasked with investigating and presenting those most serious cases, the major cases, robberies, felony assaults, homicides, things of that nature, again, committed by younger people. We also have another unit which is called the SVU unit. That stands for Specialized Victims. A lot of the cases that are prosecuted by that unit involve victims of sex crimes. We also consider individuals in specialized categories to be part of the investigation by this SVU unit. For instance, individuals over 65. Those are considered special victims for us. Also, young children. Generally, the members of our SVU unit have specialized training, and they have the ability to better communicate with these young people. So a couple of things specific to Brooklyn. So last year in Brooklyn, again, youth 7 to 15 years old, there was 1,490 arrests. Of those 1,490 arrests, 976 of those cases came to our office, again, to investigate, to prepare, and to potentially present in front of a judge. Just for numbers, as we were talking about raise the age, last year during that same time frame, 16-year-olds, between 16 and 17, there was, 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, there was 3,755 arrests. So if you look, when I was saying before that we're excited for this increase in volume, we're looking at about 2.5 times more cases that are going to come to us just with the individuals of those two age groups. What you're going to see, and what we'll talk about a little bit too, is the rehabilitative nature of the family court and how these 16 and 17-year-olds are going to be serviced, in my opinion, much better having their cases handled in family court as opposed to having their cases handled in the district attorney's office. So, a couple other numbers. Last year in 2017, the 7-5 precinct gave us the most arrests, 124. 73rd, 94 cases. In the 70th, 72 cases came to us. As you can probably see, and you hear from the people that are in your communities, the types of crimes that we generally see most are robberies and assault cases. Robberies can fall into a lesser category, which is a grand larceny, taking a property from somebody's person. Robbery is going to involve some force. What we're seeing with the younger people, the trend in Brooklyn is the small electronics. That's usually what people have taken either from their person, snatched from them, or there's some level of force and that property is then taken. That would really amount to what we see most as robbery cases. So, this slide is just a breakdown of some of the other crimes throughout the city and the precincts. If you look again, the number of referrals that we had last year, the 7-5 precinct accounted for 4% throughout the city. This was the highest precinct amount of referrals that we had in the city. If you look on this slide too, there's going to be two other precincts that fall within Brooklyn, again, that we've had throughout the city. So 3 of the 10 precincts throughout Brooklyn, we've seen the highest amount of cases referred here. So something that we're concerned about. We have focused efforts within those specific communities. We deal with those members of the police department as well as the community members to try to bring those numbers down. So what's our goal? Why are we doing this in family court? Why are we having these young people in family court? Why do we care about the young people? Why are we doing our work in family court? So we're governed not only by the penal law, which is the criminal statute in New York, we're also governed by the Family Court Act. Family Court Act attributes and offers a lot more services to these young people as opposed to the criminal procedure law. So here, our focus, like I said earlier, rehabilitation. These young people happen to find themselves, unfortunately, before the courts. Our responsibility really is twofold. Number one is to find out why, to offer this person services so it doesn't happen again. Our second responsibility is we don't want these young people, once they turn the age of adulthood in New York City, to have to go through the district attorney's office. So we're obligated to find community services, to find ways that if these young people are before us, to try to have them not come back again. We have a rehabilitative process. Statutorily, what the Family Court Act indicates to us is that we have a twofold balancing act that we have to go through when we're making a recommendation to the judge as to what the appropriate disposition or sentence should be on a case. And what we have to look at really is twofold, and this is what drives our thought process and our presentations to the judge, is we have to look what's the needs and best interests of this young person. What can we do to help this young person? What services are available that we can afford this young person to not have them come back? But on the other side of that coin, we also have to look at the need for the protection of the community. We serve as a basis to protect the community. If there is a young person that's consistently causing harm to the community, we have to do what we can to not only assist that young person, but also assist the community. This is statutory. This is our thought process as we go through our cases. So juveniles, when they're arrested, if you're not aware, the police can arrest a juvenile for anything. Anything that's a crime. A crime is defined as something that's either a misdemeanor or a felony. So misdemeanor, definition of a misdemeanor, something you can be, if you're an adult, incarcerated for up to 1 year. Felony is something you'd be incarcerated for over a year. So those are what is considered to be a crime. So the penal law defines what is considered a crime. A lot of times somebody can be arrested for trespass, can be arrested for simple possession of marijuana. Those cases are not crimes. They're not defined as crimes. They're not misdemeanors. Those cases are a violation. It's categorized as a violation. Family court does not have jurisdiction over those cases. We can't receive them, we can't investigate them, we cannot present them to a judge because they're not crimes, quote unquote crimes. They're not misdemeanors or felonies. There's some other little nuances in the law. There's something called an act of juvenile delinquency. That is considered to be something that the family court does have jurisdiction over. One of the examples that I put in here was possession of a weapon. Somebody has simple possession of a weapon, not using the weapon, of course. We have jurisdiction over that cases. And then the administrative code also goes through some unclassified misdemeanors. They're still misdemeanors, but they're not categorized by level. We have jurisdiction over those cases as well. So if the NYPD decides to make an arrest of a juvenile, again, 7 to 15 years old, the police department has 3 things that they can do at the onset. They can detain a young person, they can release a young person to a parent or guardian, or they can give a person something called the juvenile report. The juvenile report is basically within the precinct. The NYPD is just documenting the fact that they had some contact with this person. It's not an arrest. They're not issuing an arrest number to that case. It's basically, I don't want to call it a warning, but it's a documenting of a contact with a young person. They release that person then to a parent or guardian. A case never comes to court. That is not a case, not a referable case. The other 2 categories are arrests. There's a formal arrest that's done. The young person can be released then to a parent or guardian. Yeah?
Upon arrest, what are they arresting them for if they're just bringing them to the precinct and releasing them?
They're, in the instance of like a juvenile report?
Well, you're saying upon arrest, which means they're bringing them to the precinct. Then you're saying, well, they could just let them go if mommy or daddy comes, they could detain or just give a report.
Right.
So what are we talking?
They're not doing a formal arrest, meaning going through an arrest process, fingerprinting, arrest paperwork. None of that's happening. What the police department is doing is they're taking a young person to the precinct. They're verifying who they are. They're figuring out who they are. They're trying to get identification either on them, or they get a phone number or something to contact the parent or guardian. And then when the parent or guardian comes, they get released to the custody of that person. No arrest. Hard question to answer. I don't know if a crime was or was not committed. I don't know. That's within the discretion of the police department whether to issue that juvenile report or to not issue a juvenile report.
Truancy.
Truancy is not a crime. It's not defined in the penal law. It's not a crime.
Okay, I'm going to ask that we hold questions until after the presentation, so please write down whatever your questions are, and our presenter will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Also, what I had indicated earlier, my card's there, my email address is on there as well, so feel free to email me if you have any questions, if I don't get a chance to answer those questions for you. So again, the officer now, if they're going to move forward and they're going to process an arrest, they have two choices. One of those choices is to release the young person to a parent or guardian, give them something called a family court appearance ticket, similar to a desk appearance ticket, to where they are now told they have to come to court within a few days, 2, 3, 4 days, whatever it may be. The second option that the officer has is to detain that person. They take that person, they hold them, they finish their arrest process, and then that person is transported up to a detention facility in the Bronx. And then the next day, that person is brought and produced in court. So those are the options of the police department. Our office is not involved in those decisions. We don't consult with officers, we don't make recommendations, we don't do any of that. We gather and gain that information from the police department the next day when we're in court. We learn who's going to be produced in court. One of the things I want to mention as well is, going back a few years, our young people did not have access to the courts on the weekends. Saturday, the family court is not open. Sunday, the family court is not open. Holidays, the family court is not open. So historically, a young person could have been arrested on a Friday, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That young person would have to wait, if it's a holiday weekend, till Tuesday to see a judge. They would stay detained. They would come in front of a judge. Then the next day, that family court's open. That has changed. There's been a few years that that's been changed. If any of you are familiar, we have what's called weekend or holiday court. It's run out of Manhattan. All 5 boroughs hear cases that come from all the other boroughs. So if an individual is arrested, say in Brooklyn on Friday night, and there's a decision by the police department to detain that person's going to see a judge the next morning. That person's going to go into Manhattan. They're going to go to 100 Center Street, and they're going to see a judge. And that judge is going to make a determination as to how the case is going to proceed that day. Great thing in the law, something that our office and our division is very, very proud of, the fact that these young people are not afforded the opportunity, were not afforded the opportunity, now they are. Now they can go and they can go in front of a judge, have some decisions made on their cases pretty quickly. So a couple other things I have on here, just a couple facts about family court that you may or may not know. When a case comes from the police department, and that case is going to come to family court, that case does not come to my office right away. There's a intermediary step. There's another agency that has an opportunity to see that case first to make decisions on that case, and that's the Department of Probation. Department of Probation has a number of probation officers. When a case comes in, the case goes and is assigned initially to a probation officer. That probation officer will reach out to the young person, talk to them, reach out to their family members, talk to them, contact their school, and then they'll contact the victim if there's a victim on the case. They'll contact the police officer, and then they'll make a determination whether or not that case is going to be sent up to our office to now investigate and move forward on. It's a process called adjustment. During the adjustment process, there's a lot of things that a young person may be asked to do. They may be asked to do some community service. They may be asked to pay some restitution. They may be asked to write a letter to the victim of the crime. It's an opportunity for a young person to not have a case go to court. That case will not see a judge. If they go in front of the Department of Probation and they do what is being asked of them, the case doesn't come to our office to prosecute. We have a lot of young people who choose to take this route, and after a period of time, their case is over. It's done. That process generally lasts 2 months. It can last as long as 4 months. But again, another process, a diversion to keep the case away from the court system. One of the other things that we do in our office is something called diversion. We have a number of diversion programs that we use for cases that get referred to our office. Some of the examples of diversion are youth courts. I'm sure some of you have youth courts in your communities. Youth court's a great resource for us. We refer cases out to youth courts. If you're not familiar with what a youth court is, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a court that's run by their peers, younger kids. Case comes into youth court. The young person who was arrested admits that they did something wrong. There's no trial, but they admit that they did something wrong. And then their peers decide what their sanction or what they're going to need to do in order to satisfy the youth court process. The result of that usually is maybe a little community service, maybe having to write a letter, things of that nature. More well, I'm not going to get into that. But a good thing for us, we utilize the youth courts pretty often to try to have young people held accountable for what happened, but not have it have any kind of long-term effect on them. So that's one of the diversion things that we use. We have a shoplifting program that we utilize. We're always looking for different services and different programs that we can refer young people out in order to not have their cases go in front of the judge. So that's one of the goals of me being here, is to tap into you guys. Do you guys have services and programs that you can say, if this young person comes to us for a short period of time and they're successful, if we report that back to you, would you be willing to not have their cases go forward? And my answer is yes. That's what we want. We want to have those cases diverted and not move forward through the court system. Some other things, there's no bail in family court, if anybody's aware of that. If a young person, say for instance, has a case in the district attorney's office, and the district attorney's office removes that case to us, gives that case to us, that bail is exonerated. There's no bail in family court. If a person goes in front of the judge, there's two decisions. The decision is either to parole that person to the parent or guardian or to hold that person. That's the only choices that the judge has. So there's no bail in family court. We have something called finding hearing, same thing as a trial. We have pre-trial discovery, which means we hand paperwork, share paperwork with defense attorneys. Same standard of proof. We have to prove our charges beyond a reasonable doubt. This young person is represented by counsel throughout the entire proceeding. And we do bench trials. We don't have juries. There's no juries there. Our courtrooms are public. If somebody wishes to come watch court, please come. Come and watch. Come and see. Court officer might come look at you a little crook and say, like, who are you? What are you doing here? But if you say, I'm here to observe, they'll let you in. You can come in and you can watch our proceedings. So what happens to these young people if there's a finding, if we go to trial and we prove that they've done something, or they have their case go and they admit that they did something? What happens to them? We have a wide variety of different what's called dispositional options. And when we make an argument to the judge, again, what the judge has to do is do a balancing act. What's the best interest of this person, and how are we going to protect the community? When looking at those two things, the judge has to formulate what's called the least restrictive alternative. What's the least restriction on this young person's life that's going to satisfy those two elements? So the judge can adjourn the case for 6 months. After 6 months, the case gets dismissed. Judge can issue conditional discharge. That can be for up to 12 months. Judge can place a young person on probation. That can be for up to 24 months. Number of conditions can come along with probation. Anything you could think of are conditions that we've asked for. And then placement. Placement is the most restrictive. It's removing somebody from their community and placing them in a facility outside of their community. The final type of placement is something called OMH. Young people who have serious mental health needs. There's facilities that we can have those people go to. The amount of young people compared to the number of cases that we see and we present and we're involved in, the percentage of young people that are placed on those cases is very low, very low. There's been a historical trend over the years to reduce the amount of young people that are in detention. So we have followed that, and we have the amount of young people that are placed by the Family Court Division is dramatically low. So my other colleagues are going to just talk to you guys very briefly. Two of the things that my office is actually most proud of in the area of the juvenile delinquency practice. Number one is our community outreach. We try to get out to the communities as much as possible, whether it be schools, precincts, precinct council meetings. We try to get out as much as we possibly can. It's the reason that I'm here today. Really to sort of reach out to our community and let them know not only do we exist, but also that we can help. We can help. We just have to have those contacts. And the second thing that Ms. Slabaka is going to talk to you about very briefly is, I don't know, is anybody aware of what the Youth Leadership Council is? Okay, so she'll talk to you a little about Youth Leadership Council. Again, something that our office has been doing for a few years. We're very proud of it. So I'm going to have Ashley Ballas come up. She's going to talk to you a little bit about community outreach. That's this one.
Hi, everyone. As Mr. Ott mentioned, we have offices in all 5 boroughs, and we come from the Borough of Brooklyn, so our goal is to reach out to the community members, such as yourselves in Brooklyn. We understand that a lot of times the victims and the perpetrators of our cases live in the same neighborhood or go to the same school. So we've decided, or we've found, that some of the best ways to reach out to the community is by going to school presentations, which is one of my favorite things to do. At school presentations, we'll go out and we'll set it up through the principals of the school, and we'll be assigned a certain amount of classes to go and speak to, and there's usually a couple of attorneys from our office that will go, and we'll explain the juvenile justice system to kids that are within our age range of being arrested and brought to family court. So again, between the ages of 7 and 15 years old. Our goal there is to reach out to these juveniles and these young people and warn them of these risks of falling in with wrong crowds, or making wrong decisions, or making mistakes, in the hopes that we prevent them from becoming arrested and becoming a respondent in family court. One of the other ways that we reach out to the community is through meetings with police leadership and with the district attorney's offices. We'll also attend community and precinct council meetings. We hope that our meeting here with all of you will give us more connections with the community, and any questions that you guys have, you can feel free to reach out to Mr. Rock. We'll go to police meet and greets at their precincts, and we try to participate in any extracurricular activities that they organize and present. We also attend school safety task force meetings, and we'll present any issues that we see, any trends that we see that are happening in the schools that are coming up in our cases, and school safety officers will also present to us an increase of maybe a certain type of weapon or certain drugs to look out for that they are seeing an increase in their own schools. We'll also set up tables at community events. One of the events that we go to yearly is National Night Out, which is organized by the New York City Police Department. Other ways that we reach out to the community of Brooklyn is we'll meet with community partnerships and engagement committees. There we'll collaborate with community stakeholders to resolve any issues that we see that are arising in that particular part of Brooklyn. We'll also meet with the juvenile justice, education, and the training committees. There we'll coordinate the school presentations, as I spoke about before, when we reach out to the schools. We also present trainings for the New York City Police Department on how to process and how to handle juveniles when they are arrested by the NYPD. We'll also reach out to the district attorney's office, and we have many meetings happening now with Raise the Age coming on how to handle this new change in legislation. And we'll also reach out to other agencies such as ACS and Department of Probation as well. We're constantly looking in the community for different events to attend, such as National Night Out, such as these borough meetings. So if you have any suggestions for us that maybe we're not aware of or that we haven't gone to already, or if you want to remind us of anything, please feel free to reach out. Some of the other things that we do is our office will go, we try to go yearly to a gang conference that's held where we can collect intel on the gang, any new crews or any new gangs that are arising in the borough of Brooklyn. Also, we are in talks with the NYPD. They have something called the SMART division, where they put together intel on which crews are in which parts of Brooklyn, and some of their well-known gang members. We also participate in the mock trials with some of the high school students that are putting on these presentations, we'll either assist, we'll mentor them, and sometimes we'll go out and we'll judge them. Now we're going to have Alina Slobodkina come and speak with you all about the Youth Leadership Council.
Hello, everyone. So some of you might already know about Youth Leadership Council, sort of how they work. Generally, Youth Leadership Council, it's a citywide initiative that's supervised through NYC Service, New York City Service, which is a division of the mayor's office. And essentially what it is, and specifically what our Youth Leadership Council is tasked with, is to come to our office. We have a group of students aged between 14, our current members are aged between 13 actually, and I think our oldest is 17. They come from all 5 boroughs: Staten Island, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn. This year we do actually have their meeting location at our Brooklyn office, so we have our 13-year-old member who's traveling from Staten Island to be on this committee. And what it is essentially is we have them review and look at our internal policies and practices for juvenile delinquency as well as interstate child support. It's about a year-long program for them, a school year-long program. It's every Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. And we have them, we first essentially teach them about our division, juvenile delinquency, as well as the interstate child support. And then we actually have them come in, review our policies, our actual paperwork policies, as well as go into the courtroom in all the boroughs and actually observe attorneys in our office on the record.
Could you please speak more into the mic?
Oh,
Because
sure,
we need to
sorry.
record you for the minutes.
Sure.
Thank you.
So they actually come into our family courts in all 5 boroughs to actually view and observe us as attorneys, as prosecutors on the record, as well as just court proceedings in general, how the judges react, what kind of cases. And then at the end of this school year-long internship of sorts, they essentially tell us, hey, this is what you could do better, or this is what we recommend you improve, and this is what we think you do well, or this is what, how exactly you can improve it. And the goal is to improve our work for the youth that we serve as well as the community. Just to give you guys an example of something that they've done in the past is they've reviewed our victim and witness policy, how we communicate with our victims and witnesses, how we send them information, how often we contact them, and then they gave us feedback as to how we can do our work a little bit better and what they think is working. And then we actually implement those changes. And through the Youth Leadership Council, they also have a great opportunity to work with other agencies, explore different types of potential careers if they want to go into police work, if they want to go into the legal field, if they want to go into probation work. It sort of gives them that first open door to see what they would want to do as well. So it's sort of twofold. We have benefits, New York City has benefits, as well as the youth who put in time every Thursday, and they don't get paid for this. It's really volunteer from them. That's all I have. I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Rott.
So just the last thing I just want to mention to everybody, as being part of a community board meeting, like I said, a lot goes into our thought process, and we look at what's the need to protect the community? How can we best protect the community when we're in front of the court dealing with a young person's case? And some of the things that we always keep in mind is judges in family court can issue orders of protection. Those orders of protection will last throughout the disposition of the case. So for instance, the young person perhaps gets put on probation for a period of 24 months. There's a victim on that case. We're going to be making a request to that judge to issue that order of protection that's going to last for that period of time for 24 months. Orders of protection, just to mention as well, in family court, a judge can order a person to stay away from somebody's house, somebody's school, different things, somebody's work, places where this person, the young person, the victim of the crime frequents. The judge can issue orders that order this young person to stay away. We can also ask the judge to issue restitution. Like I said earlier, a lot of our cases deal with small electronic theft. If we can demonstrate to the judge the value of the property that was taken, we can ask the judge to issue restitution for that property. We also have the ability to ask the judge to issue community service. We've had situations where a young person has defaced a house of worship. And what we ask as part of our dispositional order we ask the judge to issue community service where the person may have to go back to that specific location and clean up what they did. We've had situations where young people were involved in arsons, where people were injured. We've had individuals have to go and spend a day at a burn unit in one of the local hospitals and then come back and write about it, give us an essay. And those are powerful things. Those are things that stick with these young people and hopefully prevent them from coming back. We also have a victim service called Safe Horizons. It's located in our courthouse. They do tremendous work for victims of crimes. If you know or have somebody that's been a victim of a crime, we can link them up with Safe Horizons. They can offer a lot of different things. They can do safety planning. They can assist with changing locks on doors. They can assist with school transfers. A lot of things that I couldn't even mention here because they do so much. We utilize them on almost all of our cases when we have a victim involved. So I don't have anything else. I will take a couple questions. Like I said, my card is up front. It does have my email and my phone number on there. If you have any questions or concerns or something that we can do, at minimum, we can bridge the gap between ourselves, our office, and the community. We have direct contacts with the police department, specifically to the precincts where you guys are all representative. So if you have any questions, concerns, comments, I'd be willing to answer them now. Yes?
Okay, I just want to please remind everyone to say your name and the board that you're from. The first person who asked the question earlier was Teresa Scavo from CB 15. So, Joy?
Hello, and
Hi.
hello, everyone. I'm Joy Simmons from the office of City Council Member Inez Barron. And my question is, do you have any kind of division or initiative or anything that deals with mental health in young people? Because a lot, as you may know, a lot of the issues that young people have are mental illness, and it may not be classified as such. We might say, oh, well, they're just criminal, or they're just, you know, whatever labels that we put on people, but, you know, we know that a lot of times people do things because they're just not well.
Right.
And so I was just wondering, how is that something that's dealt with specifically?
Well, it's a tough question for me to answer. Our office does not, you have to remember these young people when they come to court, when the case is filed before a judge, those young people have attorneys, right? They have a defense attorney. And one of the things that we're prevented from doing is we can't have direct contact with that young person. We don't have the ability to talk to that young person. However, we work with a lot of the defense attorneys on a daily basis. They have they can't necessarily divulge information to us, but we can communicate in a manner in which we'll understand some of the things that are going on. Some of the cases that we deal with, the victim is a family member or a parent. Those individuals will give us an understanding and idea about what happened. Sometimes a police officer might know this person. They might know the young person and give us some information that we can utilize. As far as accessing services for mental health, we don't have the ability, we don't have mental health services specifically through my office. However, as part of a sentence or a disposition on a family court case, the judge can order something called an MHS, which is a mental health study, where a mental health professional will interview this young person, interview their family members, and speak to sort of other collateral people that are involved in this young person's life, and then they'll formulate and make a recommendation as to what services are out there. We're always looking to link up with mental health professionals in the community that can assist on our cases. We have a social worker on staff. That person, again, though they can't directly speak to the young person, they can review reports, they can look at those reports, and they talk to our prosecutors more from a clinical view as opposed to, in a prosecutorial view. Very helpful for us to have that clinical aspect. But if you have access or you know of access to mental health, we do access and we can engage in mental health services for the young people. The problem is that comes on the back end of the case, just because we really don't have the opportunity to understand what the nature of the problem is really until the back end of that case. Hope that answers your question.
Richard Flatteau, Chair, Community Board 3. And I had a couple of questions about the Youth Leadership Council. One, how does someone apply for that? And then if you can tell us what the ages would be for that,
The ages run between
and what's the term?
The ages run between 14 years old and 21 years old. I think we're in our third Youth Leadership Council currently. I don't think we've had any members that were over the age of 18, 19. I don't think it's usually high school members, freshmen through senior year. There is an application process. Ms. Slobaka this year is one of the co-directors of the program. If you do have young people in your community that are interested in being involved with Youth Leadership Council, you can shoot me an email and let me know. The next council is not going to commence until next school year. So it's a year-long process where what they basically do is young men and women come into our office, they meet with the two directors who are lawyers in the office, and then we bring in other people to try to talk to them and engage them so they understand what the legal process is. Some may want to be police officers, some may want to be judges, some may want to be attorneys. Whatever they are interested in that brought them there, our goal is to foster that interest. And then what we do on the back end of that is we give them an opportunity really to look at us and tell us what we're doing wrong. You know, I'm a 43-year-old guy. I don't know what a 15-year-old kid is thinking. We have those 15-year-old kids in our office once a week that are giving us that perspective. Very, very valuable information that we utilize to change the way we think, to change the way we operate. Because those are the young people that are coming into the courthouse. So we need to understand who they are and how they're thinking and what's going on with them. So if you do have any individuals, I'm sorry.
And just to that also, with respect to sort of how we get those applications out, we have this sort of master list where we essentially send the application information about our Youth Leadership Council to essentially every school, place of worship, community board, everything in all 5 boroughs. We have a running list. What we saw this year is a lot of the places that we would send out these applications to, we would actually later get sort of we'll get the letter returned to us, address a date or something. And I think actually this year we learned that a lot of our addresses for some community boards was actually out of date to where we got our applications back. So we did actually update everything this year. So for next year when we send out applications, we usually send them out. It starts in November. We usually send out the application sometime around August, September, usually right when school starts. So that way if they can get it through school, they can quickly send it to us or work with their guidance counselor, send it to us wherever it is. And then the actual council starts in November and it runs until the end of May. So essentially the school year is returned.
Anybody have any other questions?
Najani Granville Community Board 8. I'm just curious, what is a person in need of supervision? Is that a particular type of a warrant or something for young people?
We don't deal with, the acronym is PINS. It's usually an opportunity for a parent with a child they're having some difficulty with to come to court and to file a case. We don't deal with that. The people who represent and present those cases is ACS, Administration for Children's Services. So I can't really speak to you about PINS cases because it's not something that we're involved with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, oh, we have another question.
Good evening. My name is Alice Lohman, and I'm the first vice of Community Board 5. I wanted to ask a question about the restitution. Do you expect the family members to pay, or do the child have to have some sort of job or something? You know?
Restitution usually is not done through our office. It's something that we recommend that the judge order. The Family Court Act, which governs our practice, the maximum amount of restitution that somebody can be ordered to pay is $1,500. A judge is not going to just issue restitution. We have to prove the value of whatever was taken, the damage to property, things of that nature. You're going to have defense attorneys who, rightfully so, are going to say that the inability of a young person to pay should assist you, judge, in how much money you're going to order. Sometimes judges will just simply say no. The young person is given an opportunity to pay that restitution over the period of their disposition. So that could be over a 6-month time frame, that could be over a year, that could be over 2 years. Our office stays, if the judge, we'll ask the judge to issue restitution, and if the judge does, we're then step back from that, and that's done through Safe Horizons, which is the Victim Service Board. What'll happen is that person's case can't complete. It won't finish. The term of their disposition won't end until that victim service reaches out and will inform us this person didn't pay their restitution. How the restitution is paid? Good question, I don't know. My office is very sensitive to the fact that a parent does not want to pay for an order that a judge issues on behalf of their child. I have not seen, for instance, somebody placed on probation where their probation is violated based on a restitution failure to pay. So the family court judges, I think, are very sensitive to that, and I also think that my office is very sensitive to that. So the likelihood that we're going to be asking for a significant amount of money of restitution is generally very low. We're usually asking for a small amount that's going to assist the victim with placing them sort of back in the position they were had this not happened to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we have another question?
Barry Spitzer, Community Board 12. Just have 2 questions. Number one, how does it work with somebody goes through the family court system with a criminal record? Is there a criminal record, or the young person, do they have a criminal record now, or is it?
There will be a record of the offense. Once they turn 18, they have the ability to come to court and to ask the judge to seal and expunge their case.
And what about if they go through adjustment?
Adjustment is not, well, there's an arrest. Somebody's been arrested. The case is referred to the Department of Probation. They go through the adjustment process. If they successfully complete that process, which is either 60 days, could be 120 days, once that process is completed, the case is sealed. It does not come to our office to review, investigate, or put in front of a judge. Case is sealed.
Which leads me to my next question. At any point is an offender not eligible for adjustment or diversion?
Yes, that's actually a very good question. There's a type of crime that a juvenile can be accused of or charged with, something called a designated felony. A designated felony is a very high-level felony case. Somebody 12 years or younger cannot be charged with a designated felony. Somebody 13 to 15 can be charged with a designated felony. An example of a designated felony would be a robbery in the first degree, which is taking property forcibly from somebody while using a knife or using some sort of weapon. If that case, if that charge is brought to the Department of Probation, the Department of Probation by statute cannot adjust that case because it's a designated felony case. That's really the only exception. Anything outside of that, the Department of Probation does have the ability to recommend and have that person go through the adjustment process.
And how about somebody who came is already 3 times, 4 times, came to court? Is that something like the 3 strikes kind of thing, but in this setting?
Tough for me to answer because I can't speak for the Department of Probation. I don't know what their standard is to whether or not they will adjust a case. Do they have the ability to adjust a case if somebody has prior contacts with the family court? They do. They do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, so I'd like to thank our presenters this evening, Charles. I remember the names, so I'll put my glasses on. Alina, and Ashley. So I want to thank all of you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And we have quorum. Oh, excuse me.
I'm just curious. I'm Nijani Granville from Community Board 8. Is your presentation available at all online?
No, it's not.
Okay. Your graphic was very nice with the pie chart, but we really couldn't see what the print was.
If you shoot me an email, I can send that out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you make it available online?
I have to talk to my we probably can't publish it online, but I can probably send it out. But I'll check on it.
Okay, thank you. If you can, let us know. Thank you. And I'm sure that community boards may contact you to invite you to come to the community board and do a presentation. Thank you, it was wonderful. Okay.
Excuse me, did these cards go around? Because we're trying to make sure everybody gets one, your card. I brought them out, and I wanted everybody to get one. I asked them to pass it along. That way we would know if we have enough before you leave. I don't know if I have any more on me. Okay.
And if worse comes to worse, we know how to reach you, and we can send it out to all of the community board members, and we'll make sure of that. If anyone wants their contact information, you can contact Keisha, and we'll make sure that we put you in touch with Charles, okay? And we want to thank you. Thank you, Ms. Granville, for being so on point. So as I just said, Eureka, we have quorum. So Keisha will do a roll call, and we will move to adopt the minutes from the last meeting.
Councilmember Inez Barron.
Present.
Councilmember Robert Cornegie. Councilmember Lori Cumbo. Councilmember Haim Deutsch. Councilmember Raphael Espinal. Councilmember Matthew Eugene. Councilmember Justin Brannon. Councilmember Kalman Yeager.
Present.
Councilmember Brad Lander. Councilmember Stephen Levin. Councilmember Alan Mizell. Councilmember Alikra Ampry Samuel. Councilmember Carlos Menchaca. Councilmember Antonio Reynoso. Councilmember Mark Traeger. Councilmember Jamani Williams. Community Board 1. Community Board 2.
Present.
Community Board 3. Community Board 4. Community Board 5.
Present.
Community Board 6. Community Board 7.
Present.
Community Board 8.
Present.
Community Board 9. Community Board 10.
Present.
Community Board 11. Community Board 12. Community Board 13. Community Board 14.
Here.
All right. Community Board 15. Community Board 16. Community Board 17. Community Board 18. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take a moment before we move to pass the minutes. Are there anyone who's with us for the first time? Is there anyone who is here for the first time? Would you please stand up and say your name? And we want to welcome you on behalf of Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams.
My name is Alice Lohman, and I'm the first vice of Community Board 5.
Welcome, Ms. Loman.
Thank you.
Hello, Julio Pena, First Vice Chair, Brooklyn 7.
Welcome, Mr. Penio.
Good evening. My name is Jay Ackerman, Deputy Chief of Staff for Councilmember Kalman Yeager.
Welcome, Mr. Ackerman. Do we have any other? And I'm Ingrid P. Lewis Martin, Senior Advisor to Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams. On behalf of Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams and your colleagues, we welcome you. So now, may I please have someone make a motion so that we can adopt the minutes from what meeting? The January 3rd, 2018 Borough Board meeting.
Motion. Teresa Scavo, Community Board 15, motion to adopt the minutes.
May I have a second, please?
Barry Spitzer, Community Board 12, second the motion.
All of those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Any abstentions? I assume that there was no need to make any corrections because no one interrupted, so that's excellent. So the motion carries. At this point, we just want to go through. Do we have any unfinished business that anyone wanted to bring up from the last meeting? None. We have a quick order of new business, but at the next meeting, he will be on the agenda properly. I want to introduce to you Mr. Sam Clark. Could you just stand up quickly? Sam is on loan to the Office of Brooklyn Borough President from HRA, and he is our Director of Community Partnerships. So at the next Borough Board meeting, I hope that you will be here to make a presentation. He specializes in working with the homeless population, so maybe many of you will get to know him. He should have been making calls already to many of your offices, so you may have heard his name, so now you get to see the gentleman behind the name. So our next Borough Board meeting will be Tuesday, March 6th, 2018 at 6 o'clock. May I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, please? Okay, so let's go back. We have new business.
Sorry.
Mhm.
As many of you know, congestion
Time
pricing.
out, time out. Who are you? and
I
what-
am
where you-
Doris Cruz from Community Board 10.
Okay.
Congestion pricing is being discussed at many levels of government, and it is being discussed as a Manhattan-centric, a Manhattan-based project. But any changes to traffic patterns in Manhattan impacts the outer boroughs, particularly southwest Brooklyn. We have the Gowanus Expressway. We have, for 25 years, been overburdened by truck traffic because of one-way tolls on the Verrazano Bridge. And any change in traffic patterns could have serious impacts in the communities of Brooklyn. And I think it would be helpful to many communities in Brooklyn to have some more information about congestion pricing and any modeling that has been done on the impact of any program in Brooklyn. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we will outreach to the office of the governor because I believe it's coming from his house, and we will let him know that we would like a presentation. Okay, yes?
Rob Paris from Community Board 2. FYI, anyone wants to familiarize themselves with a fairly top-line proposal that was given to the governor. The Fix NYC Panels report is on the website of the engineering firm HNTB. So you can put HNTB congestion pricing into a search engine and you will find the report, which is only about 20 pages long.
Say it one more time.
The engineering firm is HNTB, and you can say either put in Fix NYC panel or congestion pricing, and you should find the report relatively quickly.
But we will still outreach to the office of the governor and ask them to do a presentation because that's appropriate.
I just thought some people would want to read it tonight after hearing Doris mention it.
Definitely. On my way.
Do we have any other? Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? I need someone to adjourn the meeting. A motion. You have to speak into the mic. You have to say your name and make the motion.
Teresa Scavo, Community Board 15, motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Teresa. Do I have a second?
Doris Cruz, Community Board 10, motion to adjourn.
Okay. All of those in favor? Aye. Opposition? Abstentions? Okay. Good night. Thank you. Those who came on time, thank you. Those who came even though you were late, thank you because we got to have quorum. So thank you. That's okay. I'm glad you made it. Could you do me a favor and could you just sort of like collect all the cards and pass